All right, guys, welcome back to another episode. Let me show you what we're working on. That's right, we're working on the Woods Rod again. And that giant piece of metal behind me, we're gonna turn it into a floor. Let's do it. All right, so transmission, motor are in. We need to build a floor, and I'm gonna do it very simply for a couple reasons. A, I'm not a hot rod builder. I don't have a bead roller, I don't have one of those power hammers. I also am not that talented at doing that, and I would love to do some fancy bead roll-y cool thing in here, but I don't have any of those tools. I'm already dumping all of my cash into this thing to get it to SEMA, and we're under a time crunch. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build a substructure out of square tubing, and then I'm gonna lay 16 gauge sheet metal on top of it. Obviously, it will be cut out around this. And then I'm going to spot weld that in, and probably weld the whole thing and then seam seal and yada yada. I'm also going to build a transmission tunnel out of the same stuff, but I'm going to do it all square. I'm hoping to build some cool center console in here, and that will be square for similar reasons. So, let's get to it. Okay, so what you've been seeing is we took this 3/4 square tubing, this is 1/8 inch thick, and we've just kind of been spacing it out. Now, there is gonna be a tunnel here, so we will cut and kind of notch this up and so on and so forth. We're just using this to kind of outline everything, welding it up, and then the floor will sit on this. So that's what we got going on. We're gonna tack this piece in, and then we're gonna do the other side. Okay, so we're test fitting our seats, and one of our biggest fans, Cam, stopped by. You like the seat so far?
Yes.
You excited to go for a ride in this thing when it's done?
Yes.
All right. So he just wanted to say what's up. Say what's up.
Hi.
You gotta go like this. You gotta go like a peace sign or something. Peace, dude. Do like this. Your thumbs up. All right. So he likes the seat. It's approved. We're gonna get back to work now. Okay, so welcome to the inside of the Woods Rod. Let me give you a bit of an update here. We've been piecing this whole thing together without all the pieces, and that's not good. You should never do that with a project. I always say get all your parts first. So the things we're waiting on are the accessory drive for the motor and the headers for the motor. Also, this is not the seat that's going in here. So the seats that's going in here, the right seats, they're very similar, so we know it's gonna be very close, like within an inch. The problem we're running into right now is we placed this motor without that stuff. So we were guessing. We were going off of measurements online, and obviously we wanted the motor back as far as possible for weight and
you know, to clear the coilovers up front with the accessory drive. So it's kind of like a balancing act between getting it between that small hood, having the right distance between the coilovers and the accessory drive and all that stuff. What has happened here is we started building the floor and we realized where we need to make the firewall so that you can still get to the back of the transmission and that sort of stuff. So I'm not sure you can really see. Let's see if we can angle this down here a little bit. Okay, so you see my feet down here. We need to fit a brake and a gas pedal down here. And these bolts here, we'd like to have access to in case we need to get the transmission out without taking the whole motor out. So, serviceability. So pretty much my foot really needs to be kind of right where those bolts are. And this is the gas pedal that came with the motor. I'm not sure if we're gonna use it or not, but it is drive-by-wire, so you have to have something similar to this. So right there is where we would have it if that's where we make our firewall, which makes this very much a tight fit. So the long story is, I think we need to move the motor forward about 3 inches. And that sucks. That will be about 4 hours, maybe more of work, but I think long term, it's gonna be the best. Like I said, I would love to have this motor back like this, but there's just not enough room. And the other thing too is the headers come down, you know, somewhere in there. So then you have, it's just gonna be a nightmare. So long story short, we're gonna have to move the motor forward. So I'm gonna do that right now.
I'm exhausted. Shout out to the guys at GenRide Off-Road. They did not sponsor this video, but like always, if you want to send me stuff, I'm here for you. I digress. We have the motor back in on its mounts. It's been a long night. Let me show you. Okay, so as you can see, it took every tool in the shop to make this happen, but this is where we're at. So factory motor mounts are here, if that's any indication. But we are much more forward. These tubes might have to get removed and have a bend in them or some diagonal, again, waiting on the headers. But you can see here, there is the old mount, and by old I mean it was yesterday, and a new mount. So it's about 3-4 inches. It's giving me a ton of room out back. So let me show you what we got going on out back. So you've seen the floor that we've been working on. I just started doing the trans tunnel. So basically I just made this 4-inch kind of box out of square tubing. And then I've been running pieces up to it. And then that'll just get plated in and then smoothed out. But if you look in here, I've mocked up a very high-tech piece of kit here. So as you remember, that silver line, that's kind of the maximum we can go forward, still being able to get to those bolts. So it's gonna come flat like this, something like that, and then this will be kind of like a kick plate, and then have the pedal right here. If the pedal mounts somewhere like that, it still leaves me quite a bit of room. So that's where we're at. I'm trying to avoid that area because I'm hoping tomorrow the headers show up. So I'm working on out back here. So I'm gonna get more of these in, and then I will cut out those pieces there, these pieces, so the drive shaft can have travel. Obviously we'll probably have to cut the cab, and then I'll start cutting plates to fit in here. So yeah, we're gonna get to it. Work a couple more hours and we'll pick up tomorrow. The substructure that I've made out of this square tubing is all done. I might go further up, but I want to get kind of the firewall started to figure out. I have no idea what I'm doing. This is the first time I've ever built a firewall. So, bear with me here. But basically what I'm going to do now is make templates out of poster board to fit in here. But I want to start with the firewall so we can get the motor out, so we can start working on that. The other guys can work on that while I'm working in here. And hopefully we can get this thing done. So let's get to it. Okay, so I took some poster board here and I made this template, and this is roughly going to be the kick plate for the feet. I am going to cut it about here though. I got to make that trim. So anyway, that's where that's going to go. So I figure I'm going to get this in, and then I'll do the other side, and then we'll make a firewall. Let's do it. All right, so we have something that resembles a floor in here. So now I'm gonna pull these out. I've got them fitting pretty good. A couple little spots you gotta tweak as you're kind of putting these things in and out. I'm going to get everything kind of lined up the way I want it, and we're just gonna start tacking stuff in. We're gonna do a lot of little tacks at first and just kind of keep moving around so heat doesn't get crazy. And then once I get these ones in, then I'll start on the trans tunnel. That'll be the next step. And I'm just gonna keep working forward, and then I'll finish the firewall, and hopefully by the end of today, we can pull the motor back out, and then I can get back behind all this, and then the other guys can start working on the motor, and I'll start welding everything up in here, and then eventually get it all sealed up. So let's keep cranking here. All right, so as I was tacking in the floor, I found that this cross member here, this cross member here where the floor slopes down was not touching. So basically I'm by myself, and I rigged up this blocking and then this piece of steel that goes across, clamp on that side, clamp on this side, and then just applied pressure down until it was touching there. So now the floor should slope down nicely. So then I'll just keep applying pressure as I move back, tacking it as I go. Let me give you a little update on where we've been. So I've been working on the other side, figuring out how to do this. I did it off camera for your viewing pleasure because it took a lot of brain power that I didn't have. I am not a sheet metal guy. I am not a professional fabricator. This is an off-road shop. I've never built a floor before. I've never built a transmission tunnel. I just watch a lot of Ian Johnson and Morgan Clark. Okay, so I figured it all out with my brain and with the YouTubes. So, obviously we built this kind of structure to figure everything out. Then I did this piece here just by a piece of paper and 2 bends to get it on there. Okay, now, what I did for this is, see, this is complicated. You can't even figure out how the paper goes. So I basically took a measurement from here to here, measurement from here to here, and a measurement from here to here. I put it all on a piece of paper. Then I got it to lay in there. And because this and this are on different planes, I had to put a bend in there. So you put a bend like this, okay? And then that's how it'll sit. And it gives us this cool kind of line. It also gives it some structure. So let me show you how to do that. Now, like I said, we're not a fab shop. We don't have a press brake. We don't have any cool cutting tools, nothing. Let me show you the simplest way to do something like this. Okay, so once you get it all bent, you just kind of like it like that. And you can make, once it's bent once, you can make like adjustments over your knee or over this or whatever. But that actually fits pretty good. The only thing is sometimes you need to trim these edges a little bit. This one I kind of messed up the cut, so I'll just trim there. I'm gonna trim up here and we'll get it laid in and tacked.
All right, guys, last piece here. So similar process, paper template. Get it to fit good. We're gonna cut it out, put one bend in it up here, and get it tacked on, and then it's going onto the firewall.
So, after many hours of welding, grinding, and fitting panels in, we have ourselves a full-blown firewall. Now, this is not perfect. I am not a sheet metal expert. I don't have sheet metal expert tools or expertise. I am just a guy trying to make it to SEMA. So, this is not perfect. This is not a how-to. This is what I did. Now, if I were to do this over again, and my original plan when I started to do this was to buy a bead roller, buy a press brake, buy a TIG welder, silicon bronze, all of this, make it as cool as I could, learn how to TIG weld on this. I don't even know how to TIG weld, so that's something I wanted to kind of learn on my own stuff, mess it up here before I do it on someone else's. But the expression like perfection is the enemy of getting something done. So I'm done with this. If I had kept waiting for that press brake, that bead roller, and that TIG welder, I might never finish it. So I've learned a lot. It is done. I'm going to do some grinding in here. Then we're gonna get it up on the lift. I'm gonna weld some spots on the backside just to kind of help like close everything up. Then before I paint and everything in here, I'm gonna seam seal everything. I'm gonna do some fiberglass body filler to kind of make it look nice. And then we're gonna do Raptor liner on this whole floor. But I have a lot of other stuff I need to do before that. So I think for my first time building a transmission tunnel and firewall and only doing it with a cutoff wheel and a MIG welder, I think it's pretty sweet. And it's definitely strong, so that's cool. And I've also kind of optimized the room for what I have. So let's get on the lift and then we'll weld underneath there, and I think we'll call it a video. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for the floor and the firewall on this. We're gonna keep it moving because as of right now, today, we got about 25 days left to get this thing done. It's gonna be close. So, I don't even know what we're doing next, but catch us in the next video. We're gonna keep these things rolling as fast as we can and get them out. Hopefully you guys are liking this. Please take a second to like it, share it, and comment if I'm doing a good job or a bad job. I don't know, but a lot of really cool stuff coming, and I want the people that helped us with this, all the sponsors, to get as much exposure as possible. So if you guys could share it, that would be great. Yeah, it's turning out really good. So we'll see you guys in the next video.